1. Introduction. My name is Janet. I am 28 years old. I work at a library. My life is very quiet. I wear simple clothes and glasses. Most people do not look at me. I feel like I am invisible. I am like a book on a high shelf. It is dusty and forgotten. I go home alone. I eat dinner alone. I read books alone. This is my routine. My apartment building was quiet before. Now it is not quiet anymore. Last week, a new neighbor moved next door to me. His name is Henry. Henry is a tall man. He is very handsome. But he always looks angry. He plays sad music. He plays it late at night. The walls between our apartments are very thin. I hear everything he does. I hear the music. I hear the noise. I hear him walking around. The noise is constant now. I cannot read in silence anymore. I think about Henry often. I wonder who he is. Why does he look so sad and angry? He seems like a person from a different kind of world. Maybe a world with a lot of money and excitement. My world is only books and quiet. His world is noise and big emotions. I do not understand him. I have worked at the same library for 7 years. I know the smell of old paper very well. The library is my safe place. I organize the books and help the few people who ask for help. I like the order of the Dewey Decimal System. Everything has a place. My life has a place. Henry brings chaos to my orderly life. The noise starts around 8 in the evening and stops around 4 in the morning. Sometimes I hear him talking on the phone. His voice is loud and deep. It sounds like he is arguing. I try to put a pillow over my head, but it does not stop the sound. I am used to being unseen. When I walk down the street, people walk past me. They do not notice my gray coat or my tired feet, but Henry is different. Even though I have not spoken to him, I feel his presence strongly. He is like a bright, angry fire next to my quiet, small candle. I watch the light under his door. I feel a new feeling. It is curiosity. I want to know why this handsome man from a big world is now living next to me in my small, quiet life. 2. The meeting. One evening, I was walking home from the library. I had many heavy bags. They were full of books. I struggled to hold them all. The hallway was narrow. I tried to open my apartment door. The bags were too heavy. I knew I would drop them soon. Suddenly, the bags started to fall. I closed my eyes, ready for the loud noise, but the noise did not come. Strong hands caught the bags before they hit the floor. I looked up quickly. It was Henry. He stood very close to me. I could smell him. He smelled like expensive cologne and something else, maybe old whiskey. His dark eyes were looking at me. They were handsome eyes, but they looked very tired. He had deep lines under his eyes. He looked like he had not slept well for many nights. "Be careful," he said. His voice was deep and low. I felt my face get warm. He was looking right at me. Most people look away. Henry did not. He kept looking. "Thank you," I whispered back. I felt nervous. This was the first time we spoke. He still held the heavy bags easily. They felt like feathers in his large hands. I noticed the shirt he wore was very clean and expensive. Everything about him was different from me. He smiled a small smile. It did not look like a happy smile. It looked a little sad. "You are the quiet one," he told me, "the lady with the books." He paused for a moment. "I hear you sometimes. You are very quiet. I like the quiet." Hearing him say this surprised me. He remembered me. He called me the lady with the books. I felt seen for the first time in a long time. I was not just a gray shadow in the building. Henry saw me. He knew I was the quiet neighbor. He handed the bags back to me carefully. He did not say anything more. He just nodded and walked toward his own door. I watched him go. My heart was beating fast in my chest. I opened my door and went inside. I put the heavy books down. The hallway felt different now. It felt like a place where things could happen. I sat down and thought about Henry and his tired eyes. 3. The secret. A few days passed after I met Henry in the hall. My life was quiet again, but I often thought about his tired eyes. Then, one afternoon, everything changed. I heard a loud noise outside. It was not music this time. It was shouting. I went to my window to look. The street was full of people. They had big cameras and bright lights. They were standing near the entrance of our building. I heard the word paparazzi. They were waiting for someone. I quickly understood the truth. They were waiting for Henry. Henry was not just my handsome, angry neighbor. He was a famous actor. I remembered the expensive cologne and the way he looked like he came from a different world. Now I knew why. He was a star, but he was hiding here. I learned the secret from the shouting people and the news they carried. Henry had a big public fight. He lost his job in Hollywood. He came to this quiet, cheap building to hide from the noise of his old life. He wanted to be invisible, just like me. The chaos continued all day. The cameras stayed outside. I felt bad for Henry. He was trapped in his apartment. He could not leave. That night, it was very dark outside. I went onto my small balcony. The air was cool. I looked over the small wall that separated my balcony from Henry's. He was standing there, looking out at the dark street. He was silent for a moment. Then he spoke into the night. His voice was low and sad. "They found me," he said. He sounded very broken, not angry anymore. He sounded tired and defeated. "I am sorry about the noise, Janet," he said. I was surprised he remembered my name. It felt important that he knew who I was, even with all the chaos around him. I leaned closer to the dividing wall. "It is okay, Henry," I told him. "Do not worry about the noise." I wanted to comfort him. I wanted him to know that his fame did not matter here. "Here, you are just Henry," I said slowly. "Nobody cares about the cameras or the big fights. We are just normal people in this building." He turned his head toward me. I could not see his face clearly, but I felt his eyes on me in the darkness. He did not say anything more for a long time. The only sound was the distant noise of the city and the wind. We stood there together, separated by a wall, sharing the secret. For the first time, I felt like I was sharing something important with the man next door. 4. Talking at night. We started a new routine. Every night, after the sun went down, we went to our separate balconies. We talked in the dark. The small wall between us felt less important now. We spoke for a long time each night. This was our secret time. Henry told me many stories about his old life. He talked about the world of Hollywood. He said that many people there were not real friends. They only liked his money or his fame. He felt very alone when he was famous. He missed having honest conversations. I shared my life too. I talked about the books I loved, the stories that kept me company. I told him why I liked working in the library. I explained that silence was my comfort, but also my prison. I told him how I often felt lonely, even when I was around other people. This was a secret I had never told anyone before. Henry listened very carefully. He did not look bored for even 1 second. He did not check his phone or look away. He listened to every single word I said. This felt completely new. Most people looked past me or looked away when I spoke. One night, he said something that surprised me very much. "You have a beautiful voice," he told me. My heart started to beat very fast inside my chest. I was shocked and happy. No one had ever said that to me before in my life. I told him, "No one usually listens to me." He leaned closer to the railing that separated our small spaces. He looked deep into my eyes in the darkness. The feeling between us was very strong. It was a strong emotional tension. He spoke slowly and clearly. "I see you, Janet," he said. "You are the only real thing in my life right now." Hearing those words changed everything for me. For many years, I had felt like a small, quiet shadow. Now, I realized I was not small anymore. Talking at night became the most important part of my day. I waited for the sun to go down so I could hear his voice again. I was the invisible librarian, but Henry saw me. He saw the real me hiding behind the glasses and the quiet clothes. I finally felt important. I felt like the main character in a very good book, not just a dusty one on the top shelf. 5. Bad news. The stories about Henry became worse. The newspapers wrote many terrible lies about him. The scandal was very big now, and the noise was everywhere. Henry could not leave the building at all. The photographers were always outside the door, waiting for him. He needed to stay hidden inside his apartment until they left. Henry needed food, but he could not go to the store. I decided to help him. I went to the large supermarket near the library. I bought many necessary things: bread, milk, cheese, and fresh fruit. I bought enough food for several days so he would not have to go out. I walked back to the building with 2 heavy bags of groceries. I felt nervous about going to his door, but I knew I must help my neighbor. I walked to his apartment door and knocked softly. Henry opened the door quickly. He looked terrible. He was not the handsome star I knew. His hair was messy, and his clothes were not clean. His shirt was unbuttoned, and his eyes were very dark. He looked like a man who had not slept well or eaten correctly for many nights. He looked surprised to see me standing there with the bags of food. "Why are you helping me, Janet?" he asked quietly. His eyes were intense and full of sadness. I put the bags down on the floor. He sighed heavily. "I am nobody now," he told me. "I am a failure. I lost everything important." He looked down at the floor, seeming very ashamed. I shook my head slowly. "That is not true, Henry," I said. My voice was quiet but strong. "You are not a failure." I wanted him to understand this truth. "You are Henry. You are the person who talks to me on the balcony every night. You are my neighbor. You are kind." I moved closer to him. I lifted my hand slowly and touched his arm gently. His skin was warm under my fingers. He stopped talking immediately and froze completely in the doorway. He looked down at my small hand resting on his arm. Then he looked up quickly at my eyes. We stood there for a long moment, not speaking. The air in the hallway changed suddenly. It felt hot and strong, like electricity moving between us. I knew this moment changed everything. 6, together. Henry pulled me inside his apartment quickly. The room was dark and quiet. He let go of the grocery bags. They fell softly to the floor. Henry turned to me immediately. He put both his hands on my face. His hands were warm and strong. I looked into his eyes. They were not tired anymore. They looked at me with great feeling. "You save me," he whispered. His voice was deep and low. Then he kissed me. It was a surprise, but a good one. The kiss was long and very slow. I closed my eyes. I felt like I was flying high above the ground. I was not the quiet librarian anymore. I was important. I was a woman. I knew I should go home, but I did not move. I wanted to stay with Henry. We spent the whole night together. We did not need many words. We sat close on his small sofa. We talked quietly and we kissed. We held each other tight. Outside the window, the cameras were still waiting. It was a big risk to stay. If they saw me, the newspapers would write bad things about me too. They would tell lies, but I did not care about the cameras or the lies. I only cared about the feeling of Henry next to me. I felt safe. Henry stood up and took my hand. He led me to his bedroom. His room was simple and neat. We lay down in his big bed. We did not talk about the future or the past. We just held each other until morning came. I had never felt this safe before in my whole life. I finally slept well. It was the warmest sleep I had ever known. The air in his apartment was different from mine. It smelled like warm wood and his expensive cologne. Everything felt new. For so long, I had lived in silence and invisibility. Now I was here in the dark next to a famous man. But he was not famous here. He was just Henry, and I was just Janet. We were two normal people who needed each other very much. We were together. I felt real when I was with him. I knew my life was changing forever. 7, I am afraid. The sun came into the room. It was morning now. I opened my eyes slowly. I looked at Henry. He was sleeping next to me. He looked very peaceful. His face was soft when he slept. I remembered the night before. It was a perfect night. We were together. But then a cold feeling entered my heart. It was sudden fear. I felt a knot in my stomach. I started to think about the real world again. This apartment was a small bubble. Outside, Henry was famous. He was a big star. I was only Janet. I was the quiet librarian. We were very different. Henry's life was full of lights and noise. My life was full of quiet books. I knew the scandal would end soon. When the bad news stops, Henry will return to his life. He will go back to Hollywood. He will see beautiful, famous people every day. I worried that he would forget me quickly. I would be invisible again. The thought hurt me deeply. It felt like a physical pain in my chest. I thought, he will forget the lady with the books. I could not stop the sad thoughts. I needed to leave right now. I got out of the bed very quietly. I did not want to wake him up. I looked for my clothes quickly in the dark room. I put on my gray sweater and my glasses. I moved to the door. I looked back at Henry one last time. He was still sleeping peacefully. I opened the door slowly and closed it softly behind me. I ran back to my apartment next door. When I was inside, I locked the door immediately. I went straight to the kitchen. I sat down and started to cry. The tears came fast and hot. I cried for the wonderful night we shared. I cried for the future I knew we could not have. I felt very sad and very stupid for believing in something impossible. Later, maybe 1 hour later, I heard a sound. Knock, knock, knock. It was Henry at my door. He was probably confused. He was probably asking why I left without a word. I stood up quickly. I walked to the door but did not open it. I held my breath and listened. I could not talk to him. If I saw his face, I would tell him how much I liked him. Then, when he left, the pain would be too big for me to handle. I needed to protect my heart now. A broken heart is worse than being lonely. I decided to hide again. I decided to be the invisible woman once more. It was safer this way. I did not move until the knocking stopped. 8, a new start. It was 2 days later. I came home from my job at the library. The evening sun was warm. I still felt sad because I had run away from Henry. I felt guilty, too. I walked slowly toward my apartment building. Then I stopped. Henry was sitting on the front steps. He saw me and stood up right away. He looked very different. He was wearing simple clothes, old blue jeans, and a plain t-shirt. He looked rested and calm. He did not look like the angry, famous man I first met. He looked free. I held my breath. I waited for him to speak first. "Janet," he said. His voice was quiet, full of feeling. "I waited for you." I held my bag tightly. I worried that he would be angry because I hid from him. I understand why you left, he continued gently. You were afraid I would go back to my life as a star. You thought I would forget you when the trouble ended. He took a step closer, but he did not touch me yet. I quit, he said. The word was strong. I quit acting in the bad movies. I told my agent I want a new start. I want quiet. I want a real life. I felt a big surprise. He was giving up his fame for peace. He was choosing this small, quiet world. I want the quiet, he repeated. But Janet, I want you more than anything else. He walked the last few steps until he was standing right in front of me. He reached out and held both of my hands. They felt warm in his. Please do not hide from me again, he asked. His eyes looked deep into mine. I see you. You are not invisible. You are the kindest, most important person I know. You saved me. The fear left my heart completely. It flew away like a bird. He was here. He chose this. He chose me. I smiled, a real, strong smile that felt new. I did not feel small anymore. I did not care if the neighbors were looking out their windows. I moved toward him and kissed him. It was a long, beautiful kiss, right there on the street. It was a new start. I was finally the main character in my own story. I was Janet, and I was loved.